In this lecture, you will create your very first promise. To do that, grab the previous script, create a new file, paste it, clean up the script block. Let promise is equal to new promise. We create a new promise object, and while creating the object, this promise constructor takes a inner function as a parameter, and within that function we define all the asynchronous code. So we can pass in that function as an arrow function, open and close brackets, fat arrow, open up the body of the function. This is where all our asynchronous code will live. You can make database calls, you can make calls to third-party REST APIs, whatever asynchronous code you want to use in your application can live here, and that will be executed asynchronously for you. So here we are going to simulate asynchronicity by using the setTimeout method from JavaScript API. setTimeout takes a function as a first parameter, comma, the timeout or the time that should pass before this function is invoked as the second parameter. This time is in milliseconds. The first parameter is a function call. This is where we are going to define our asynchronous code. We'll use an arrow function. Again, use the fat arrow, open and close bracket, simple console.log of working asynchronously. Working asynchronously. So all your asynchronous code can go here. This is a simple demo. So we are using setTimeout to simulate asynchronicity, where it will wait for a second and then it will execute the following code. Typically, we use promises inside functions. So let's define a function called myAsync function or fun. Within functions, we create and return promises back. And at the end of the function, return the promise we have created. Save it. Under ES6, create a folder called promises. Go into that folder and call this promise.html. Here we have successfully implemented our code, but to tell the JavaScript engine that we are done with our work, we can do it using two parameters that this inner function accepts. They are resolve, reject. We can name these parameters whatever we want, but it is a general convention to call them resolve and reject. And these resolve and reject are functions in turn that we can use. So if you use resolve right here, once we are done with our asynchronous code, we use resolve to tell the JavaScript engine that we are done with the asynchronous work, and now it can go back to the next step. And we can use reject to pass back errors. I will show you how to do that in the next lecture. To summarize it, in this lecture, you have successfully created a promise. A promise constructor takes an inner function where all our asynchronous code lives. We could have simply used console.log, but to simulate asynchronicity, we have used setTimeout so that this code gets executed after a wait of 1 second.